What's going on, Dub Nation? Tyler Smith here, bringing you another edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, we have rumors about a possible retirement coming for number 23, Draymond Green. He opened up about his NBA career timeline basically on a podcast. And we have a new Lauri Markkanen trade update. The rumors never stop about Lauri Markkanen and the Golden State Warriors. We're going to keep you up to date about everything that's going on with that situation leading up until the August 6th quasi-deadline. But before we get into all of that, those punks over at Celtics Today said there's no way the Warriors Today channel can get 600 likes on today's video. They said we are washed. They said we had our Linsanity run there in the beginning of July, and we're done now. We can't get this many likes anymore. Prove Celtics Today wrong. Prove Allie Barefoot and Celtics Today wrong by smashing that thumbs up icon, helping us get to 600 likes, and defeating our goal, and just having a little bragging rights over the 2024 champs. Could Draymond Green be retiring sooner rather than later? Draymond Green opened up about the later stages of his NBA career on the Club 520 podcast. And quick side note, one of the funniest athlete podcasts out there, Club 520, run by Jeff Teague and company over there. Some of the best stories, some of the most authentic, real-world stories and takes from the mouth of a professional athlete. And just a great overall product over there, Club 520. So shout out to Jeff Teague. I can't even get my words done here. But this is what Draymond Green had to say about his possible retirement. He said, I'm on the wrong side of my downslide. I don't really know what that means. But I'm heading into year 13. I probably got 2 more seasons. And Draymond Green turns 35 years old next season in March. So he's getting up there in age. You see on his beard and his hair, he's got the pretty stark gray hairs coming in there, and it just seems like the days of Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, they're officially over now, and Draymond Green could be the next one that's on his way out within the next couple of seasons. If you look at what Green's contract looks like right now, he's getting paid a pretty hefty number, $24 million coming in this year, up to $26 million in 25-26, and then in 2026-27, he has a player option for $27.7 million. Now, Draymond said, I probably got 2 more seasons, so that's probably including the 2024-25 campaign as well as 25-26. Leaving that 26-27 option open, is he going to leave that type of money out there on the table? I mean, he's going to be under contract, if he so chooses, for $27.5 million. I personally wouldn't want to leave $25 million plus on the table if I was Draymond Green, but to be fair, he has made a ton of money in his NBA career, and he's been a pivotal force in what this Golden State organization has done, winning 4 championships in the last decade. And over the last 4 seasons, not necessarily eye-popping numbers, not the ones that we saw in 2014, 15, 16, when Golden State was really at the height of their reign of terror in the NBA. But if you see, from age 31 to 34 here, it doesn't seem like there's been much of a drop-off anywhere. And if you look a little deeper than with the numbers on your screen right now, Draymond Green was abysmal from three-point range from 2022, 23, 21, 22, 2021. He really just fell off a cliff in terms of three-point shooting as those seasons went on. But last year, in 2.5 attempts a game, which is a little bit more than the couple of seasons prior, he shot 40% from 3. So Draymond Green has been an absolute just constant. You know what you're going to get day in and day out, unless, of course, he tries to assault somebody on the basketball court. But other than that, you know what you're going to get stat-wise from Draymond Green. And he's been the same player. Like I said, he's been the same player he's been for the last 5 years. I'm not worried about a drastic drop-off in play. He's not somebody that really relies on athleticism, quick first step, quick burst, jumping up and down and really using his vertical to his advantage. It's not something we know Draymond Green to be able to do. He's really somebody who's going to facilitate the offense, slow things down, try to slow down better offensive players on the other side, because we know how good of a defender he is. So overall, I don't see over the next 2 seasons, which could be Draymond's final, potentially seeing a huge drop-off from the numbers that he's putting up, because I think he can kind of wake up and put up 8 and 8 whenever he so chooses. He just has to be able to remain available and stay out on the court and avoid injury and all that stuff, as those things are more common as you do get older. But is Draymond Green locked in on a title pursuit? That could be a little bit of a different story, because he said further on that podcast about how he's advising Golden State whether or not to make certain moves to whether improve this roster or potentially harm it down the line, in his opinion. Here's what he had to say. He said, the Warriors were about to make a trade last week, and I told him straight up, that trade will help me. It'll help me right now in my career these last couple of years with Steph, but I've always spoken to y'all from a place of what's best for this organization. I won't stop now. That's a bad trade. Don't do that trade. I disagree with it, although it's going to help me right now. So Draymond and I disagreed in some sense of this word. We don't know exactly what that trade is. It could have been terrible. I'll talk about that in a second. But my stance this entire time, through the entire saga of trying to add Paul George, of letting go of Klay Thompson, of this new Lauri Markkanen trade pursuit, my stance has been that you have to put a competitive roster around Steph Curry in order to honor him for what he's done for your franchise, who he is as far as what his legacy is to the game of basketball. You shouldn't be throwing these rosters that resemble those of Kobe's over his last couple seasons, filled with young talent who's really not ready to make that jump to championship contender status, and it leaves Steph Curry kind of just putting up a bunch of empty stats on a pretty bad basketball team. I don't think that's what the Warriors could do here. Now, the trade that Draymond was talking about, maybe it could have been a really, really bad trade. I mean, as far as targets that Golden State has had out there, rumblings of any trade rumors for Golden State, yes, Lauri Markkanen is number one right now. Maybe they were talking about a Lauri Markkanen trade, and potentially Brandon Pajemski was going to go back to Utah in the deal, and Draymond Green shut that down. Would I have been the biggest proponent of that? Probably not. I probably would have said go ahead and make that trade, but who knows? It could benefit Golden State later on in negotiations with Utah. And then Brandon Ingram as well is another guy that we've heard rumblings about Golden State potentially pairing up next to Steph as that secondary scorer on the wing. And Zach LaVine as well is somebody who I think this could have been about. You know, we talk about Zach LaVine. He hasn't really been available. His attitude's not really great. You're not getting much on defense, and his contract is hefty. He's getting $50 million. So potentially that was something that really could have harmed Golden State that Draymond advised against. But I'm not like Draymond. I'm saying go all in, make a big deal, because you have to honor these guys, and you have to play to the strengths of your roster. And the strength of your roster is Steph and Curry. So who do you guys side with? Do you side with Draymond Green saying stay put, don't make any drastic trades right now, or do you go with me, Smitty, and say go all in and make a big time splash for a big time player next to Steph Curry? Type D for Draymond, type S for Smitty. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Next up, we have a new Lauri Markkanen trade update. Sorry, I kept you guys waiting for just a little bit. But before we get into that, I want to give you guys a great deal on Stephen Curry Team USA Olympic jerseys. Well, a jersey, if you will. The much cheaper option than a real Olympic jersey, but it's absolute swag. And it could be the only time that it's ever possible to get a Stephen Curry Olympic jersey. You know, he's getting up there in age. He said he probably won't play in another one, and he hasn't played in an Olympics before. This is his first time, could be his only time, so you're going to want to get this merch. Chatsports.com/CurryUSA is the link to go down there and do it. It'll be in the comments and description of today's video to make things easy for you guys. I'm thinking about getting one of these shirts and bringing one of them on the show, trying it out for you guys, and of course honoring him as he goes on with Team USA in the pursuit of a gold medal over in Paris. Chatsports.com/CurryUSA in the comments and description for you guys to make it easier. Go get your Stephen Curry Olympic merch today. All right, we have a new trade update surrounding the Lauri Markkanen rumors that have been swirling for the past entire month, it seems. And this one's coming from more of Utah's side of things and where they are with trade rumors and where they want their roster to be heading into next season. This tweet coming in from Evan Sittery here saying the Jazz are a potential team to monitor for Brandon Ingram. That comes from a Pelicans beat reporter. And he says if Utah signs Lauri Markkanen to a new long-term contract in August, they could pivot to a win-now move, acquiring Ingram. My first question here is, how on earth could they possibly win now? What tells you, if you're Danny Ainge and you add Brandon Ingram, which, by the way, probably have to give up some young assets back to New Orleans in that deal, what tells you you'll have a roster in place that's good enough to win now? What are you winning now? 35 games? Because that's what it would be like if Brandon Ingram and Lauri Markkanen were your top two players and you really didn't have as deep of a roster behind them as you did before you made the trade. Golden State, on the other hand, I mean, I've been one saying, like, I don't think Golden State is necessarily a top-tier Western Conference contender if you just add Lauri Markkanen to this team. It certainly makes them better, but I never said that they can go out there and win a title. And, guys, remember, August 6th is the key date for a Lauri Markkanen trade to go down for Golden State. We know that that date signifies when he can be extended by Utah for multiple years following next season. And Golden State has the opportunity to make a deal for him before or on that date. But if they don't and he signs an extension with the Utah Jazz, they are probably out of luck with the way that the trade deadline is lined up from that August 6th deadline. Golden State cannot trade for Lauri Markkanen if he signs an extension after August 6th. So if you're in Lauri Markkanen's head, you're like, hey, I don't want my name to be circling around in trade rumors all season long. I'm going to wait till August 7th to sign this extension, and then we'll figure things out if the team wants to deal for me next offseason. It's an interesting scenario for Golden State. I'd like to see them get it done beforehand, but you never know with a staunch negotiator that Danny Ainge is. The latest on Lauri Markkanen in entering his final year of his contract, only making $18 million a year right now. It was a 4-year, $67.5 million deal I believe he got from Cleveland, and then was traded over in the Donovan Mitchell deal to Utah. He can sign an extension starting at $49 million for the 2025-26 season, or at $57 million if he's an All-NBA selection this year. Obviously, has trade interest coming from Golden State, but there's also the Spurs who are in hot pursuit of Lauri Markkanen, as well as the Houston Rockets and Philadelphia 76ers who have opened up inquiries, and the Sacramento Kings, who we reported a couple weeks ago that Golden State might be in a bidding war for. Sacramento trying to stack up some talent. But in my opinion, this whole Jazz Brandon Ingram thing is a sad attempt by Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz in order to kind of lure Golden State, try to scrounge up more assets out of them, and get a deal done for Lauri Markkanen. Because there's no way that Danny Ainge believes that they can win now if they just add Brandon Ingram to the Utah Jazz. There's really nothing that should tell you that. And another thing that signs point to Brandon Ingram not being a target by the Utah Jazz is that New Orleans won't offer him a $200 million extension. So with that being said, why would Danny Ainge go out there and trade assets for Brandon Ingram if his own team isn't going to offer him a big-time extension? Why don't you just wait until he hits free agency for that? And then the other kicker is that OKC owns Utah's 2025 first if it's outside the top 10. If you add Brandon Ingram, the likelihood that you are a top 10 draft selection goes down a good margin, would it not? Brandon Ingram's a good player. We know this, but if they don't make the trade, they stick with Lauri as their best player, and they just have that young talent developing around him, there's a very good chance that Utah's pick lands in the top 10, and they keep their own 2025 first-round pick. And if this doesn't convey, by the way, it would go towards 2026 with a 1 through 8 protection, and then it would go to a 2027 first unprotected. So Utah doesn't want to lose this first-round draft pick, and I don't think Golden State's going to budge based off of this newfound nonsense going on from Danny Ainge. I really don't think they're in a situation to be handing out more for Lauri Markkanen than they really need to in this sense. And Joe Lacob, the Warriors owner, is a big proponent of this. He sat down with 95.7 the game, and he kind of talked about the Warriors trade rumors, saying we have a full roster right now. I think we're at 14 players. Are there trades being discussed in all the time? Absolutely. We could make a significant trade for sure, but we might not. Trades are kind of the hardest way to go because there are 29 other teams all trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to get better, and everyone wants to win a trade. In business, you hear the term win-win. It's good to make win-win moves in life, business transaction, and trades, but you can't force someone into that. You have to find the right trade partner at the right time, and it will work for both parties. Doesn't seem like there's any urgency really with Joe Lacob here, kind of trying to make a trade. He's not saying, like, his words don't tell me that they're aggressively looking to move for Lauri Markkanen, and they're aggressively trying to make this team better for Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the veterans they have brought in free agency. And it just makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, Lauri Markkanen is a guy who's going to come in here and make an impact immediately on the offensive end. And for a Golden State team that has an undefined secondary scorer on the roster right now, Lauri Markkanen could slide right in and just raise the ceiling of this team that, in my opinion, doesn't really have a playoff level ceiling. I think this team can make the play-in, but if you add Lauri Markkanen, I think they're for sure top 6, 7 seed in the West. And, that's the move you make if you're looking to compete with Steph Curry for the last couple of years of his career. We know he doesn't want to be a bottom feeder. So, one more time for you guys. Make a deal that improves the roster this year. That deal is likely Lauri Markkanen because he's really the only guy who's being dangled out there in trade talks. If you do not make a trade if you're Golden State, get prepared, be ready to watch a team that's going to strive to win 40 games. Like, you're really not going to see this team make any type of impact, scare anybody in the Western Conference. They're going to be hovering around 500 for most of the season, and if you're okay with that being the Golden State Warriors front office, then so be it. But I'm not okay with it as an observer, as a fan of this team. So you have to make a deal. I think you have to get better, and Lauri Markkanen seems like the only way to really do that and maximize what you have in front of you right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section about this upcoming Warriors season, about all the comments that we've heard recently. Are you worried about Golden State heading into next season? And that could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be for a possible Steph Curry, leaving the organization down the line. This season could have a tremendous impact on that. Could be about Draymond Green retiring and this whole era of Warriors basketball ending sooner rather than later. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments if you're worried or not about the Warriors in this season. And that'll do it for today's Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Subscribe to the channel for the latest Golden State Warriors trade rumors, news, updates, everything that comes out about GSW. You're going to find right here, youtube.com/WarriorsTV. Smitty here. We'll see you later. Go Dubs.